Welcome to the Sociology of AI, a three-part module that explores how sociological thinking reframes our understanding of artificial intelligence. Rather than treating AI as a purely technical phenomenon, this module asks, how is AI shaped by society, and how does it in turn reshape society? Over the course of three parts, we will move from foundational theoretical frameworks through key research areas to the practical question of why this approach matters for interdisciplinary research. This first part introduces the sociological perspective and its core theoretical paradigms. This module has three parts. Part one, which is the focus of today's session, introduces the theoretical foundations to provide learners with a conceptual toolkit. It asks, what is sociology? What is distinctive about a sociological approach to AI? And what are the major theoretical paradigms that frame the field? Part two will survey the key empirical research areas that have developed, including work on labor, surveillance, bias, and governance. Part three will address the so what question. Why does this approach matter, and how can it be integrated into interdisciplinary AI research and practice? It is worth starting with a clear definition of sociology because students from computer science, engineering, or other technical backgrounds may not have encountered it formally. The American Sociological Association definition is a useful starting point because it is broad but precise. The key move sociology makes is to connect individual experiences to larger social patterns. This is what C. Wright Mills called the sociological imagination. Sociology asks not just how does this algorithm work, but how does this algorithm shape and reflect social relationships, institutions, and inequalities? The second column of bullet points illustrates the breadth of sociological inquiry, from the most intimate social units like the family to the most global like world systems, from everyday deviance to formal state power. This slide summarizes what is distinctive about sociology's contributions to AI studies, drawing primarily on Davis and Sloan and Joyce and Cruz. Four features stand out. First, structural analysis. Sociology is uniquely equipped to examine AI as embedded in larger structures, not just in individual biases or technical errors, but in the structural inequalities of capitalism, in corporate concentration, and in the erosion of democratic institutions. Second, AI systems and social life shape each other simultaneously. AI is not just an input that changes society, but is itself changed by the social context in which it is developed and used. Third, this is perhaps the most distinctive contribution. Sociology connects the macro level, like labor market inequality, the meso level, like automated hiring systems, and the micro level, like individual job seekers' experiences. No other discipline does this systematically. Fourth, sociologists ask who benefits and who is harmed, and they insist that fixing AI requires changing institutions, not just improving models. We now turn to the theoretical paradigms that frame the sociology of AI. These are not competing theories so much as complementary lenses, each illuminating a different dimension of AI as a social phenomenon. The first framework, AI as socially produced and sustained, is rooted in the sociology of scientific knowledge and asks how AI as a category, a research program, and a cultural formation is produced through social processes. The second framework, AI as a socio-technical system, is more analytically structural. It names the components of AI systems and asks how they interact with social contexts. We will explore three key theorists within the first framework, Woolgar, Jansen, and Davis and Sloan, and then move to the socio-technical systems perspective. This slide introduces the first major theoretical framework, AI as socially produced and sustained. The central claim, displayed in the green banner, is that AI is not simply a technical object that exists independently of society. It is produced through social processes, through the choices of researchers and funders, through the categories and classifications that are built into systems, through the stories that are told about what AI can do, through the institutional contexts in which AI is developed and deployed. Three theorists are key to this framework. Woolgar brings the sociology of scientific knowledge to bear on AI, showing that even the categories of intelligence and machine are social accomplishments. Jansen analyzes AI as an ideological and rhetorical formation, showing how Cold War politics and cycles of hype have shaped what AI means and who it serves. Davis and Sloan synthesize these insights into a structural sociology of AI, treating it as a social structure that mediates key domains of social life. Steve Woolgar's 1985 paper is a foundational text for the sociology of AI, even though it predates the current wave of machine learning by decades. Woolgar was writing within the tradition of the sociology of scientific knowledge, which treated scientific claims not as discoveries of pre existing facts, but as social accomplishments. His key contribution is to apply the insight to AI specifically. He observes that what counts as artificial intelligence is not a stable technical definition, but a moving target. Every time AI seems to have achieved something, like playing chess or recognizing faces, the goalposts are moved, and, quote, real intelligence is redefined as something AI hasn't achieved yet. This is what allows the field to claim perpetual progress while never definitively succeeding. For learners, the key takeaway is that before we can ask, is this AI system intelligent, we need to ask, who gets to decide what intelligence means, and what social interests does that decision serve? Woolgar's framework also directs attention to the sociology of AI discourse itself. For instance, the papers, conferences, and press releases that construct AI as a research field. Sue Curry Johnson's analysis extends Woolgar's insight into the realm of ideology and political economy. Where Woolgar focuses on the sociology of knowledge, Jansen focuses on AI as a political and cultural formation. One of her most important contributions is the concept of mythopoetics, the way AI is legitimized not only through scientific claims, but through stories, metaphors, and fantasies. The idea of a robot that thinks like a human, or an AI that is, quote, godlike in its capabilities, is not a scientific finding. It is a cultural narrative that serves particular interests. Jansen traces these narratives back to the Cold War, showing that AI research was funded by the military and shaped by fantasies of technological control and mastery. The concept of paratexts is also important. For instance, press releases, TED Talks, manifestos, and podcast appearances that surround AI research are not peripheral to it. They are part of how AI is produced as a social and political force. Davis and Sloan's contribution represents the current state of the social constructionist tradition applied to AI. Their framing is both simple and powerful. AI is a social structure. What does this mean? It means that AI is not just a tool that individuals use, it is a structural force that shapes and is shaped by all the major domains of social life. Crucially, Davis and Sloan insist that AI is not just shaped by these forces, it also reshapes them. AI and society are mutually constitutive. This is why sociological analysis is not a supplement to technical AI work, but a fundamental part of understanding what AI is and what it does. We now move to the second major theoretical framework, AI as a socio-technical system. The socio-technical systems perspective has its roots in science and technology studies and organizational sociology. Its core claim is that technologies are never purely technical. They are always already embedded in social contexts that shape how they work, who they serve, and what effects they have. Applied to AI, this means that we cannot understand an AI system by looking at its code or training data alone. We also need to look at the institutions that develop and deploy it, the labor that sustains it, the governance structures that regulate it, and the cultural assumptions that are built into its design. This framework has become the dominant analytical approach in the sociology of AI, and it provides concrete tools for empirical research and a checklist of components and relationships to examine in any AI deployment. This slide visualizes what a socio-technical system actually consists of. The 9 components are all part of any AI system, even though most technical discussions focus only on the first 2. Each component raises specific sociological questions. Where does data come from? Who labeled it? What biases are encoded in it? Who wrote the code? What assumptions are built in? Who does the invisible work of data annotation, content moderation, and model training? What organizations develop and deploy this AI, and what are their interests? Who makes decisions, and do they have the capacity to override the AI? Who is the AI designed for, and who is excluded? What formal and informal rules govern the AI's use? Whose values are embedded in the design? What assumptions about normalcy, efficiency, or intelligence are built in? Together, these components determine how AI is embedded in everyday life, organizations, and structures of inequality. Kudina and Van de Poel identify 3 dimensions that are especially critical for understanding how AI functions in context: institutions, culture, and governance. These are not simply background conditions, they are constitutive of what an AI system is and what it does. The welfare fraud detection case is a particularly illuminating example because it shows concretely why a narrow technical focus is insufficient. Imagine an AI system that assigns risk scores to welfare applicants. Whether this system is fair cannot be determined by looking at the algorithm alone. Fairness also depends on the institutional procedures that govern how scores are used, the legal safeguards that protect applicants' rights to appeal, the political priorities of the government deploying the system, and the room that human caseworkers have to question or override the system's outputs. A technically excellent algorithm can produce profoundly unfair outcomes if the institutional, cultural, and governance context is not carefully designed. Mohammed et al. Introduced a decolonial lens to the sociology of AI that is essential for a globally inclusive analysis. Their core argument is that many of the harms associated with AI are not new. They are continuations of colonial patterns of extraction, hierarchy, dispossession, and domination now operating through digital systems. They call this algorithmic coloniality. The concept draws attention to continuities that are invisible if we focus only on the novelty of AI. The same populations that bore the costs of colonial extraction now bear the costs of AI extraction through underpaid data annotation work, through being the subjects of surveillance and predictive policing, through bearing the environmental costs of data centers, and through having their data extracted without meaningful consent or compensation. Mohammed et al. Ask 3 clarifying questions that should guide any analysis. Who produces knowledge about AI? Who performs the labor that sustains AI systems? And who is made to bear the social and material costs? These questions systematically redirect attention from the global north innovation hubs to the global south labor and resource reserves. Kate Crawford's Atlas of AI is an important work on AI for a sociological audience because it makes the material reality of AI viscerally apparent. Crawford's argument can be usefully summarized as showing that what we call artificial intelligence is built on 3 interrelated levels of extraction that are systematically made invisible by the sleek interfaces of AI products. AI systems depend on rare earth that are mined under often brutal conditions. AI systems are sustained by armies of low paid workers who annotate data, moderate harmful content, and perform the ghost work that makes machine learning possible. These workers are often invisible in AI narratives that emphasize automation and the replacement of human labor. The training data for AI systems is drawn from everyday human activity, our searches, our social media posts, our medical records, often without meaningful consent or understanding of how it will be used. Crawford's second key insight is about classification. Data sets are never neutral mirrors of the world. They are constructed through choices about what to include, how to label, and what counts as a category. These choices encode assumptions about race, gender, normality, ability, that then shape the outputs of AI systems. We now move to the summary and synthesis section. The scholarship we have reviewed today by Woolgar, Jansen, Davis and Sloan, Joyce and Cruz, Kudina and Vandepol, Mohammed et al., and Crawford converges on a coherent set of claims about what AI is and how to study it sociologically. These claims form the foundation of an original conceptual framework that learners can use to orient their own research and thinking. The framework is not intended to be a rigid theoretical model, but a heuristic, a set of lenses that highlight different dimensions of AI as a social phenomenon. These five claims collectively define what is distinctive about a sociological approach to AI. First, AI is made through social processes, and the categories it uses, like intelligence, fairness, or normality, are social accomplishments that could be otherwise. Second, AI is not politically neutral. It is embedded in and reproduces historical structures of power, including racial capitalism, colonialism, and patriarchy. Third, AI tends to encode and amplify the inequalities of the context in which it is built and deployed. This is not a bug. It is a structural tendency that requires active institutional counterpressure to overcome. Fourth, the narrative around AI is not peripheral, but central to what AI is and what it does. Who controls the story of AI shapes who benefits from it. Fifth, no single level of analysis is sufficient. The sociology of AI requires connecting individual experiences to organizational practices to macro structures, and it requires historical grounding to understand how contemporary patterns are rooted in longer trajectories. This also means recognizing that AI is extractive. It depends on the extraction of material, labor, and data, which is unevenly distributed globally. To learn more about these conceptual frameworks and findings presented here, consult these sources.